Hi, welcome to the Masterclass, Leap, Lock It In, and Let's Go. We're going to be talking about manifesting, but most importantly, quantum leaping. So I'm really excited to share all of this with you guys. And so I'm going to give everyone a few seconds to hop on for anyone watching live, and then we will go. And I am also going to pull this up in the Facebook group in case the comments don't show up here, because sometimes they don't. All right. Welcome. Anyone watching live, if you want to say hi, feel free. Let me know that you're here. And we are going to talk about quantum leaping, aka leap, lock it in, and let's go. All right, so to start off, and for anyone who maybe isn't as familiar with the phrase, let me just kind of explain how I see quantum leaping, or what I see, that is. So quantum leaping, in my opinion, is when you close the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be fast. So that might be done in a way that is faster than is typical, or it might just be really fast. It may feel like something that happened like overnight almost. But obviously it didn't actually happen overnight. There is things that are going on. There are things that you're going to do in the process that maybe will make it feel like it happened that quickly. But when you look back, you can see that there were a lot of little things that got you to that point, right? So with quantum leaping, you are basically trying to move somewhere quicker, right? So you're wanting to go where you want to go, have the thing you desire to have, whatever it might be for you, and you want to have it now, right? Versus waiting a really long time for it. Now, we're going to talk a lot about this stuff because there are a lot of nuances in all of this, and I've got sort of a shortened process for you to kind of explain, and hopefully this will give you some ideas for how you can spend the next 6 months, so between now and the end of this year, quantum leaping for yourself, right? And really going all in on the thing that you wanted for this year or whatever else you're working on, and give yourself permission to really go for it. So that is what we're going to talk about. And I think a lot of the times quantum leaping has momentum behind it, right? So it's not something that just happens immediately because you make a decision, I'm going to do something, and it's done. Like you take action, right? There are things you have to do, whether it's changing your internal state or changing external circumstances or things you might need to do. And there's momentum. A lot of the times the momentum is built from all the things you've done leading up to this point. And then it may feel like a big burst, right? When the thing that you desire to have actually happens, and when it comes through and you feel like, wow, that happened quickly, or wow, that happened faster than I thought it would, or would typically happen. But when you look back, you see that you had that momentum building. So like an example would be like when I manifested being a best-selling author on Amazon for the first time, which was back in 2016. Before that, I had built a lot of momentum, right? So before that moment happened, I had written a whole bunch of books. So I think at that point I had maybe had 3, 4, 5 books. I had quite a few books at that point. So it's not like I had just wrote one book and decided it was going to happen and I was going to become a bestseller. And I'm not saying that can't happen. Of course it can and does for many people. But it wasn't how my journey went, right? So my journey had the momentum of I was building myself to that place where I could believe that I could be the type of author who could write a book that could be a bestseller, that could hit #1 in my category. And up until that point, I hadn't believed it. And so when it happened, it was a decision that I made and then a journey that I went on. And it only took 4 months from when I made the decision to when it actually happened in my physical reality. But when I look back, that 4-month period of where I quantum leaped from being this, I wouldn't say not successful author, but just like kind of flying under the radar type of author, to the point where I was now selling thousands of books in a month. And that was, like I said, in 2016 when I was writing books about writing. So that was what I was focused on at the time, was helping authors and helping people to write books for themselves and to be a better author and a better writer, and to just do the things that they want to do with their writing life. And so before all of that, like I said, I wasn't in the belief that it was possible, that it could happen for me, that I could make it happen. And so I had to build that momentum first. And once I had that momentum, it was a lot easier to believe, okay, I can make it happen that year. I can be the best-selling author I want to be. And since that point, it has happened multiple times with multiple books. In fact, Quantum Leap Your Life, which is the book that I was celebrating today with this live stream, It's actually it's the 2-year anniversary in 5 days, so it'll be out for 2 years, and it hit number 1 recently. So for the first time, it was in the very beginning of June, and then since then has hit number 1 multiple times. In fact, sometimes it was there for multiple days in a row, and it just stayed at number 1 in the category. So, and actually, right now, as I'm doing this live stream, it was at number 2 in the category. So, what's really cool is this was built with momentum, right? So all of the times that I continue to write the books and continue to put the things in place, then these things started to happen, right? And now they start to happen more often and more frequently, and it feels easier, and it feels like it's not as big of a surprise when it does happen, because I expect it now, and I believe that it's possible. But none of that happened overnight, right? That was all built by momentum. So in my opinion, quantum leaping still has momentum behind it, right? Nobody just wakes up today and decides, I'm going to be a best-selling author, and then they're a best-selling author, the next day. Like, that doesn't happen. That's not quantum leaping. That's not even realistic in any way. And I'm just using this as an example. Insert whatever you're trying to do with best-selling author, right? So I'm just using that as an example. But obviously, there is things that have to happen with a quantum leap in order to get to the point where it feels so inevitable, where it feels like it's the natural progression of where you're headed, right? And where you've been going and the momentum that you've been building. So that is what we're going to talk about now in this masterclass. Leap, lock it in, and let's go. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of different things that are involved with manifesting, with quantum leaping. You may have heard me talk about some of this stuff if you've read any of my books. I have 2 specific processes that I talk a lot about: the manifest method, and then also fuck the how. This is sort of a version of that. It's just sort of done in a way where we're focusing more on making a quantum leap. So the things that would be involved in that, but it's all the same in the sense that, like, it's the same process. We're just nuancing it in different ways. So the first step is a pre-step. So before you can even get into your quantum leap, before you can start to work on this leap that you want to make, you have to know what you want, right? So the pre-step to the leap is knowing what you want, is being clear on it, either specifically or in general. So whatever feels best to you, wherever you have a belief level. So if you can believe something more specific, then you could go for something more specific. If you don't feel like you can be more general. So if saying you want to manifest a 5-figure month feels more believable to you than to say, I want to manifest $10,000 this month, then you go for the more general versus being so specific with the number. You know what I'm saying? So you have to kind of feel this out for yourself and figure out what is best for you. Sometimes I go more general because I just feel like that is always easier for me to believe than something that's more specific. And so for me, when I manifest, I'm mostly focusing on in general things. So like I might make a list of, these are the in general characteristics or the in general traits or things that I'm looking for in whatever I'm manifesting. And I keep it general in the sense that I'm not trying to limit myself by being so specific that now it's like there's less options available. Like, I want all the options, but I want them in a package that's fitting with all the criteria that I want, right? So that's why I like to stick with being more general. But if you find that being specific is helpful for you, then that's okay too. It's really about what works for you. And I am not going to tell you which one to do, because it's really going to be what's best for you. So I would say, try it out, right? Try being more general, try being more specific with the thing that you want to manifest, or you can consider it like a goal if you don't want to call it like something to manifest, if you want just like a goal. Either way, think about it. Do you want something general? Do you want something specific? And I would say, think about it over the next 6 months, right? So from here to the end of this year, what would you love to manifest, right? Or what kind of quantum leap would you love to make in a certain area of your life or your business or whatever you're working on? So you want to get specific about that. The other thing is, you might want to think about the vision, right? So the vision being, what is the overall big picture of either this goal or the thing that you're manifesting or the reality you're trying to create in a certain area? What is the big picture, right? What is the vision that you see for this area? What is it that you desire as a big picture? And why? Now, the why does not have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be anything that's selfless or anything like that, right? Your why can literally just be because you want it. And that can be a simple why. But most of the time, there's another why involved. And so you want to kind of dig a little bit in, why do I want this? And why does it matter to me to have this thing or to make this reality come true for me? Because if you know why you're doing something, it just makes it easier to stay motivated. It makes it easier to take action when you feel like you're worried or you are a little intimidated or you're just feeling like something, doubting something. Like, having that why is the thing that will motivate you to be like, I can do this, right? I'm going to keep going. I can trust and I can keep going. So like for me, my why, and it took me a long time to get to a place where I was accepting that this was actually my why and could be my why, because for a long time I thought a why had to be something selfless, right? Like if it's not selfless, then it shouldn't be my motivation. But no, my motivation has been since I was 11 years old, but mostly, especially since the last, I would say 5 or so years, is that my motivation is to write a ton of books and to see some of those books get turned into movies on the big screen and streaming all over the world, including writing screenplays that also get produced into movies. Now, like I said, for a long time, I didn't think that could be a why, because I thought, well, how can that be my why, right? But when I looked back at everything and I looked back at all of the goals that I had all these years and all the books I've written and all the things that I've done, that was why I was doing all of it. It was because that is my big picture vision, right? That is the ultimate outcome that I want for my life, for my career, for my writing and my books. And so that is the why, right? That is what drives all of the other goals, all of the other things that I want to manifest. That's the bigger vision for it. So by having that bigger vision and knowing why I want it, it not only helps me to be clear on the things that I want to manifest along the way, but also to know what isn't a good fit, right? Or if I feel like I'm getting distracted and that's just a shiny object or something that is going to take me away from what I want to be focusing on and what I want to be doing. So I have built a lot of momentum over the last few years with writing my manifesting books, with getting them out there more and getting more people to read them and to know about them. And they've sort of taken off on their own now. So now they sort of have their own momentum building. And so it's like, I feel like I'm on the path, right? That vision that I've had for such a long time is starting to feel like it's in my reality, and I'm experiencing more and more of it every single day. I have a new novel that's coming out at the end of this year, which I'm super pumped about. Like, I'm really excited about this story. So all of these things are part of my big picture vision. And so that helps me to know, okay, what am I focusing on now? So my quantum leap that I'm making right now is in my author business, right? So I'm quantum leaping around the money that's coming in, obviously. I'm quantum leaping around the number of people that are being impacted by my books, how many people are actually seeing them, that they exist, getting them into more people's hands. Like I'm quantum leaping in all of those things right now. And so how I started to do this and moving into the first actual step of this process, which is leap, is you're going to do something, you're going to take an action that is going to put you on the path to this vision or this thing that you're desiring to manifest or to make a quantum leap in. And this is going to look different for everybody. So some examples. It could either just be taking, if you, let's say, haven't even been on this path at all. So let's say you decided you wanted something or you're ready to go for something, and now you're making your first like entry onto that path. It could be that, and that's your start to your leap. Or it could be something like an action that you've been feeling called to take for a while, but you keep putting it off, right? You keep telling yourself, I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to wait, like I'll do it later. And this was something that I've been doing a lot lately with certain, like what I would call like inspired actions that I know the universe sent me for things to do in alignment with the goals that I have, but I haven't always done them, right? I've been thinking about them and wasting a lot of mind space thinking about it, but I haven't actually taken the action. And what's crazy is if you just take the action instead of wasting time thinking about it, not only does it get you somewhere faster, but then you don't waste mind space constantly thinking about something and being on the fence about something, right? You just decide and you do it. So your leap could look like I said, taking an action that you've been putting off. It could be making a big move of some kind. So not like an actual move, or maybe it is an actual move. So maybe there's somewhere you've been wanting to move to and you haven't done it yet, but you keep feeling like you should and like you want to. And like maybe that's the leap that you take. Or maybe it's something like you make an investment in something. Maybe you've been thinking about investing in something or buying something or whatever it might be, and you haven't done it yet. And maybe that's the leap you're going to make, right? You're going to do something to just like show the universe, I'm in and I want to do this and this is what I'm going for. Or whatever you're doing. It could be making a decision, right? So maybe you have been on the fence about something and you know, like you need to decide finally and you haven't done it yet. So maybe making the decision is going to be your leap, right? It's going to be that thing that you're going to do to put yourself in the game or to put yourself on the path, or continue on the path if you're already on the path, like I said. It could also be things like having a tough conversation, breaking up with somebody. So these are not little moves, right? These are not little actions. They're actions that could potentially change your life in a big way. But they're actions that cause you to know that like you are ready for something, right? So you're making a leap. You're not just doing an any old average day action, right? You're taking an action that you feel like this is aligned with the vision. This is aligned with where I want to go. This is aligned with the thing I want to manifest. And so you make that move, right? You take the leap and you make that move, knowing that in doing so, not only are you sending the message to the universe to say, I'm in this, right? Game on, let's do this. But also you're sending a message to yourself that shows you like, I can trust myself, and I know that I can trust that if I feel called to do something that I can do it, and then I know that I'm going to be okay. Now, one thing I will say about that, caveat all of it, is that risky moves or risky actions are not required or recommended. So I think, and the reason I want to reiterate this part is because earlier today I read this article. I don't remember, it was in a couple of different news sources actually, but it was based on this study that was done in, I think, England or somewhere. But basically they did a study on manifesting, and they discovered that people who believe in manifesting are more likely to go bankrupt. And now I don't know that I agree with that necessarily. However, the 135 people or whoever they had in the study, that was what they concluded. And I think a lot of it had to do with people who believed in manifesting were more likely to make risky moves, right? Or to take big risky actions. But the thing is, there's a difference between taking an action that just feels like the action you know you need to take, and doing something that's risky or something that's stupid because it's based on being delusional, right? So you haven't done anything at all yet about to do with the thing, but then suddenly you just decide, like, I'm going to just spend $10,000 on this thing that, like, you don't even, and again, I'm just making up stuff now, but the idea is like, risky moves are not necessary. You don't need to spend a ton of money to make your dream happen. Like, there are little things you can always do along the way. You don't have to take big risky moves unless the exception being that if you just know the move is right for you, right? So like, I quit my day job on the spot. Like, I was like, I'm done with this. I can't do this. I put my 2 weeks notice in. This was back in 2012, but it was like, I just knew it was the right move, right? I didn't have anything else lined up. I had no income coming in really. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just knew it was the right move. Now, was it risky? Absolutely. But it didn't feel stupid or it didn't feel delusional because I had been building a business, right? So the year before I only made $8,000 in the business, but it helped me to believe that it was possible to make money in this business that I had at the time. And that belief helped me to believe that if I quit my job, I would have more time to focus and to grow the business and to make income from doing what I wanted to be doing. So it seemed like a risky move maybe to an outside person, but to me, it felt like the right move in the sense that it felt aligned with where I was going, with what I had been building momentum-wise. So I think in that case, it's okay if you do take a move that feels risky, quote unquote, with the caveat that you accept responsibility for any consequences that might show up, right? So in me quitting my job like that and not having anything figured out or lined up or money saved or any of that, like, that was risky, yes, but also I knew it was the right move, and I was willing to accept the consequence of I might not make any money. I might end up having to go back and get another job. Like, I accepted that that was a possibility that could happen. Now, thankfully, that didn't happen because I quantum leaped in that moment. So I literally made that decision. And within a week, I found out that I had a 401k account that I forgot about from an old job. And there was like 12 grand in it. So I ended up closing that out and ended up having like over $9,000 that I could use as a safety net while I quit the job, while I figured out what I was going to do, while I was going to make money, etc. And I don't think that would have showed up if I hadn't made the leap of quitting the job, right? So putting the notice in and doing that. So sometimes it's in taking that action, right? Or in taking the leap action that aligns you with the next step, the how, the things that need to happen to get you to the thing you're manifesting. But like I said, risky moves or actions are not required. So you don't ever have to do them that way. I don't ever recommend doing it that way, especially because doing it like that, so doing it in the extreme way that I've done a lot of things, like quitting my job and putting a notice without anything figured out or saved or any of that, like that was just me knowing like myself, right? And knowing that that is the only way. Like for me, sometimes I have to be at the extreme in order to make something happen for myself. And otherwise I'll just procrastinate forever. So I know myself and I know the type of things I have to do. And I know that I can trust it. And again, I always accept the consequences that could come up because sometimes there are consequences, right? So again, you can decide now for yourself, what is your leap move? What do you need to do to either get yourself in the game of the thing you're manifesting or to continue on your path, building your momentum if there's something that you need to be doing that you aren't or that you feel you've been feeling called to do, but you haven't done yet. So that's a leap, right? The leap part of your quantum leap is starting with that action, right? Starting with something that is going to continue the momentum or is going to get you in the game. So that is the leap. Okay, and then the next part of this is lock it in. Now, this is one of the most important parts, maybe even the most important part, because if you waver, if you don't make yourself like committed to something, then what's going to happen is you'll get distracted by shiny objects. You'll get distracted by everything going on around you, or life will happen and you won't keep going with the thing you're doing. You'll set it aside temporarily and focus on life instead of trying to do both simultaneously, even if one has to be a little less focused than the other, like you don't drop the ball completely, you know? So the lock it in part is really important. And I think it's the part that a lot of people either they don't commit to, or they don't stick with long enough to actually see it work. So lock it in basically is you make the decision that you're going to manifest whatever you're manifesting, whatever the thing is for you. And then you back that decision fully in all ways, always, right? So you're not wavering. You're giving yourself full permission to want the thing. You're working on the internal stuff, your mindset, the way you're believing, the way you're feeling, any stuff that's going on that tells you it's not possible, it can't happen, you won't be able to do it. Like, you're not letting that stuff sit there and fester. You're dealing with it, right? You're doing whatever you need to do to get rid of it, whether it's reprogramming, whether it's using like EFT or doing breathing exercises, meditating, visualizing, whatever tools you need to use to handle that stuff so that you can stay locked in on the thing that you're manifesting. Because the thing about quantum reality, the quantum realm, whatever you want to call it, which is the invisible realm, right? So in the quantum reality, in the quantum realm, all possibilities, options, outcomes, they all exist all at the same time. And the one that shows up in your life is the one you continue to choose over and over and over again, which is the lock it in. So if you don't lock it in, then you waver and you go back and forth, then you're on the fence, and some days you want it and some days you don't want it, and you're not really going all in on it because you're not fully decided and fully backing that decision. So what you need to do is decide fully, this is what I want, this is what I'm going for. And it's always this or something better, right? So obviously with manifesting, we're co-creating with the universe, with God, whatever you want to call it. And in that way, we don't get to control every part of it, right? So we do what we can do, our part, we decide what we want, but we also trust and be open to the fact that the universe might know about something that's even better than what we want, that we don't know about, that we're not thinking of, or that we wouldn't even know to ask for or think of because it's just not in our experience of life at this time yet. So there are things that maybe would be better, and by limiting yourself by saying, it has to be this one specific thing, then you don't have that ability to allow the universe to surprise you with things that could be better. So I always say, lock in your decision of this is what I'm manifesting, right? So I'm manifesting my best book royalty year ever so far, as an example. That's what I'm locking it in. That's what's happening. In the next 6 months, that's what I'm quantum leaping with. Okay, fine, cool. Now it's, okay, well, if it's locked in, what do I need to do now to support that decision over and over again? Whether it's changing the beliefs, whether it's, and the thing that I do is having a gratitude in advance statement. So anytime I wait, or anytime I feel the doubt coming up, anytime I feel like I'm worried, or I start thinking it might not happen, or I can't do it, or whatever it is, I go back to my gratitude in advance statement. So I'm like, thank you, universe, for helping me to have my best book royalty year ever so far. And so now I'm reminding myself of what I want, locking it back in, right? So anytime you're going to waver, like the wavering, the doubt, the stuff is going to come up. That's a part of it. And so the locking it in is continuing to shift back, right? Continuing to lock it back in. Every time you go off track, every time you worry, you doubt, you lock it back in. That's the lock it in part, is you go, I'm deciding again. I'm being grateful again. I'm choosing it again, over and over and over again. And in doing this, and in doing, like I was saying, the inner work, right? So working on the mindset, working on changing the beliefs, and any kind of inner stuff that's going on that says you can't have it and it won't work and whatever, and the outer actions, right? So doing things that align you on that path, that align with you having that outcome, like all of that stuff, and then working on how you feel, most importantly. So if you're feeling like it's not going to happen, it's not going to work, it can't work for you, like that is a very specific vibration, versus feeling hopeful, feeling like it can work, I can do this, I can make it happen. And so that is a different vibration, right? That is a feeling that makes you feel a certain way, and that feeling helps to match the things that you desire to have. So by being more focused on the thing you want, locking it back in, and then using your tools to deal with the inner stuff, the mindset, the beliefs, whatever comes up for you, you can continue choosing that reality from the quantum, choosing the reality you desire to see, like this or something better, right? So it's always this or something better, but you know what you want, right? The this is always the thing you want, or something better. And the something better is the thing you want, but maybe a different version of it, right? Or I always say, like, it's what you want, but has a bonus to it somehow. So the most example I can think of, like, was when I manifested love. I wrote down on my list of things that I wanted. I was manifesting a person who didn't have a pet because my dog is not good with other dogs. But my boyfriend, who I manifested, had a dog. And I thought, well, this has got to be or something better, because the universe wouldn't bring me something that wasn't aligned with what I was asking for. So I was able to go, okay, I'm going to trust that this is something better that I just don't understand or see yet. And what ended up happening was that when we introduced our dogs, they loved each other. They got along extremely well. My dog has never liked or gotten along with any other dog ever. And he took to him like water. He loves him, absolutely, just is like the big brother he never had. So in that way, that was the universe bringing me or something better. I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for my boyfriend to have a dog, but he did. And now I get to have 2 dogs that are freaking awesome, who are, little brothers, and they're just like cool together. And that was something I never would have been able to ask for, because from my life experience, that wasn't a possibility, right? This dog doesn't get along with other dogs, is what I thought. So until that showed up, I didn't know that there was a possibility for that to happen. And so that was the or something better, right? That's the universe seeing something that I couldn't see. And so in becoming the vibrational match to what I wanted and having it show up, the or something better came with it. And I always think it's like a bonus a lot of times. So yeah, you're locking it in and trusting that it's always this or something better. So you're either going to get exactly what you wanted, or you're going to get something better. Another example I can think of is when I wrote about this in Quantum Leap Your Life, actually. So when I was manifesting, right after I manifested my divorce, I was basically working on like all the things you do after you get divorced, right? So separating things out and doing whatever you got to do to become your own entity again. And in that, there was a part of that where I had business taxes that were still being paid from the IRS. And my ex was tied to those taxes because we had a bad tax accountant who didn't do our taxes properly at the time. So while it should have been married filing separate because I owned a business and he didn't, they just did it as married. And so my taxes became his taxes, which obviously when you're getting divorced is not the thing that's, not going to be a good thing to have going between 2 people. So I manifested him off my taxes, and that was what I wanted. But everyone was telling me that was not going to happen. It wasn't possible. Like, I was crazy, including tax accountants, lawyers, people who work for the IRS, like people telling me it was never going to happen. I was crazy. It was never going to happen. But I didn't care because I just believed it could happen. And so I continued to choose it, right? I continued to lock it in over and over and over again. Thank you, universe, for solving this tax problem. Thank you, universe, for getting my ex off my taxes. Thank you, universe, for helping to solve this tax problem in a way that is of the greatest and highest good for myself and him. Like, over and over and over again. When someone would slam the door and tell me this isn't going to work, when someone would tell me there's no way this is going to happen, when another IRS bill, which like anything would happen, I would just lock it back in, right? Over and over and over again. The reality I wanted to see, the outcome I wanted from this situation, what I was manifesting, which was him off my taxes and getting his money, all the money he had paid to my taxes, because every time he got a refund from his job, they would take it and apply it to the taxes. So it was like getting him separated and getting his money refunded was a big part of what I wanted to manifest. And I just continued to focus it, lock it in over and over and over again, even when all the external things told me there's no way this is going to happen. And what ended up happening? It took 2 years of locking it in and continuing to lock it in and continuing to trust and continuing to believe and do the actions that I felt and I needed to do along the way. And 2 years down the line, I get a letter from the IRS saying that they decided to take him off the taxes, refund his money to him, and make us separate entities, which, like I said, everyone was telling me was not going to happen. And it happened because I didn't believe them. I didn't choose to let what they were seeing, what they were believing, the reality that they saw, taint what I was believing, right? What I was choosing to have happen. And so I got what I asked for. I didn't even get the something even better because this was the something better, right? It was getting exactly what I wanted. So lock it in over and over and over again. And the gratitude in advance statement is the thing that I think helps the most, is like having that statement. So anytime the doubt, the fear, anytime negative external circumstances start being presented, like you can continue locking it in. Thank you, universe, for helping me to make this happen. Thank you, universe, for blah, 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 whatever it is for you. So that's locking it in. And the other things I'll say about locking it in are staying power, right? So like with the example of the tax thing, it took more than 2 years to get to that point where it manifested. Now, what if I had given up a year into it? What if I had stopped locking it in after 6 months? What if I decided it wasn't going to work and I decided to believe the lawyers and the tax accountants who told me it wasn't going to happen? What would have happened then? Well, I wouldn't have manifested him off. He would still be tied to my taxes. There would be a great deal of animosity between us still. I would be dealing with a lot of frustration, a lot of stress, like a lot of financial stress, just worrying about how am I going to pay this so I can get him off. And But I don't have any of that because I manifested what I wanted by locking it in over and over and over again, continuing to take action when I knew I needed to, and continuing to deal with the inner stuff, most especially because that was really the biggest game, I felt like, was the inner stuff, the belief, and not letting the external people cloud what I was deciding for myself. So another thing about locking it in is that you don't let, or you have to work on not letting outside people, outside forces, outside circumstances take you out of being locked in. So like I said, I called lawyers, I called tax accountants. So I Googled like the best lawyer in LA. Like I wanted the best tax lawyer, the best divorce lawyer in LA. And I found this guy who, like, he was the top Google listing or whatever. And he did like free 15-minute consultations. Like you could set one up through a secretary or whatever. So I did that. And I'm like, I'm going to ask this guy, and he told me straight up, there's no way this is going to happen. He's like, it's just not going to happen. He's going to be on the taxes until you pay it off. Now, what if I decided, okay, yeah, he's right. He's this big tax accountant, lawyer, whatever. He works in LA. He must know more than I do. Like, I should just believe him. Well, then what? Then I'm not locked in anymore. I'm doing what everyone else is wanting me to believe. I'm not locking in the reality I want. I'm locking in the reality that someone else is telling me. And that's not how you get what you want, right? So it does take practice, obviously, which is why the gratitude in advance statement is helpful. But you just have to practice not letting those things. Now, it's not to say that didn't happen sometimes. Like, yeah, when they told me that, when I talked to the guy and he told me that, yeah, it was disappointing. Like, it was disappointing. I did feel kind of shitty for a little while. Like, man, this really sucks. This is so hard. Like, why can't this just happen and be easy? But I didn't allow myself to stay in that, right? So I maybe wallowed in it for a few minutes, whatever. You're allowed to do that. But I didn't stay stuck there, right? I continued to decide, continued to lock it in, and it happened because I did. So that's locking it in. And let me know if you have questions about any of this stuff. So I don't see any comments. I don't think anyone is dropping any right now. But if you do have questions or you want to comment on anything, feel free to do that, because I am watching the comments on my computer as well as on the phone, because sometimes they don't show up on the phone. So yeah, just in case. Okay, then the final part of this, right, is let's go. So we said leap, lock it in, and let's go, right? So the leap is when you're deciding what you want, when you're actually starting to take your action, when you're getting yourself in the game. Then you're lock it in, right? So we're locking it in, we're making it the thing we're focusing on, we're choosing it over and over and over again. Now it's let's go. Let's go is about multiple things, really. So it's about taking action, acting as if, it's about trusting the nudges, it's about not allowing yourself to quit. So let's start with acting as if. Acting as if is basically when you choose to take on the thoughts, the beliefs, the feelings, and the actions of the version of you who already has the thing you want, right? So me choosing to be the version of myself who already makes the book royalties that I desire to make, let's say, as an example. So it's like, whatever that version of me is, I'm going to embody that now by acting as if that's already who I am in whatever ways I can. So obviously you can't do everything, and you don't have to do everything. It's not even about that. It's about choosing the things that feel to you like that is what I would be doing if I was there, right? That is who I would be if I was there. And again, you don't have to do everything. So what are the things you can think of that you would do? What I say is do what you know to do, right? So if you want to be a best-selling author, what do you already know to do that you could do to get yourself on that path, right? Write a book. Maybe you need to write another book if you've already written a book, or maybe you just need to get better at marketing the book you've already written so that it can start to sell more. Like, that can be a thing too. So Quantum Leap Your Life came out 2 years ago this month. It didn't hit #1 until June of this year, right? So 2 years down the line, it finally hit #1 in its category. But before that, it was building momentum, right? So do what you know to do. Do the things that are in line with the thing you're manifesting. And the other part being be inspired, right? So as you do what you know to do, as you write that book, as you start to market the book that you already wrote, like whatever it is, and I'm just using these as examples. If you want some specific examples around what you're manifesting, feel free to comment and tell me what it is, because I'm happy to give some examples for that as well. But you are making that doing your actions, and as you're doing those actions, you'll get inspired nudges to do things, right? Because the universe is co-creating this with you. So when you leap, you take your action, you show the universe, let's do this, I'm in. The universe is going to start to show up for you, right? And to show you little nudges, little ideas, little inspirations, things you could do. So as an example for me, and a big part of, like I said, I'm manifesting this author career. I told you about my vision and where I'm going. So all of that, one of the inspired actions that came to me quite a while ago, actually, I would say probably maybe the beginning of this year, if not even last year, was to get a personalized license plate that said author. And I thought it, and I'm like, this is a cool idea. I should do that. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I kept thinking it was cool, but I never actually did it. I just kept putting the action off, kept putting it up. Hey, I'll do it eventually. I'll do it eventually. Do I really need to spend that money right now? I already have a registration on my car. I already have a license plate. Do I really need to spend the money right now? Like over and over and over again, right? Instead of just making the decision, I was going to take the action because I was inspired to, right? So instead, it just sat festering in my head for over a year. Like, hey, here's an action you could take. Here's an action you could take. So today, before this live stream, I made the decision to freaking do it. And I ordered my customized license plate. Now, I couldn't get author, unfortunately, because someone already had the full word, but I got a version of the word, which I'm really excited about. And it's just like another way of me moving in the direction that I want to go, right? Because I want to show the world that this is who I am. I am an author. I am an author who wants to help people, who wants to get my books out there, and I don't want to hide anymore. So by putting it on my car, right, making it my license plate, that's a big move. That's a move that I had an inspired action to take, but I just never did it. So now I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I start doing? And so that was one of the actions that I took. And it's just really cool to be able to see, like, if you do what you know to do, you will get inspired ideas. And the inspired ideas, I feel like, are a lot of times not only the how presenting itself to you, but also like they become the steps that feel not only like the easiest, but then sometimes they don't feel easy. Sometimes they do feel a little intimidating or a little challenging, but when you do them, they create the most magic, I feel like. They create the most like momentum, the most leapingness of all of the actions, because they come from the universe versus you making up the actions yourself. Now, the reason that I say you do what you know to do, though, is because otherwise people think that manifesting is just sitting on their ass waiting for something to happen, which is not what it is. So I say in doing the acting as if, it's do what you know to do and be inspired to action, right? So when you do what you know to do, you're sending a message to the universe that says you're doing what you want to, you're doing what you need to do, you're doing your part, and now the universe can match your part and go even further for you. So you do what you know to do, and you allow yourself to be inspired. And when you get inspired, right? So when those nudges do come to you, when I got the idea to get the license plate, the customized license plate, you take action, right? You trust and take action. Trust the nudges. Now, I didn't do that. Like I said, I waited, but that action didn't go away. It kept nudging me over and over and over again. And finally today I was like, I'm just going to do it. So it's done now, and I'll have my new license plate in about 6 weeks. And I'm excited about it because I feel like I made a big move for myself as an author, energetically and physically, right? So I took an action that feels a little bit scary because it's like, I'm literally presenting to the world now when I drive around in my car that I'm an author, and people are going to ask me about it, I'm sure. And when they read the license plate, they're going to ask me about my books. Like it's like putting a big message out there for myself. And so it felt like it was a moment for me to just trust that nudge, right? The nudge that I had had for a long time. It felt like the moment to do that. Another example that I could give you with that is, and the reason that this whole masterclass came to begin with is because last week, was it last week? No, sorry, the week before that, I made a decision, a huge decision, and I made a big move in my author business. And it's something I know is going to help me not only continue building this momentum, but is going to help me make a major quantum leap over the next 6 months. And the decision / the big move that I made was I hired a full-time virtual marketing assistant. So I'm doing this through an outsourcing company, so it's a little more affordable than hiring an actual full-time employee, but there is a person who in a couple of weeks will be full-time working in my author business for me. So helping me with marketing, helping me promoting my books, helping me with all the things I want to be doing that I haven't had the capacity to do as a one-woman show. So like, that was a huge move, and it was a big investment. It was definitely scary to do, but I also felt like it was the right next move. It was an inspired action. I need to trust it, even though it is scary, even though it is kind of a big move financially and just in general, like energetically and with my mindset and like all these things, because it's forced me to up level quickly. So over the last week and a half, I've had to do a lot of things to get ready for this person to come into my business. I've had to do things like standard operating procedure documents and figuring out like who my market is and like, how do we talk to them? And because I have to be able to explain to this other person what I do and how I do it. So like, it has forced me to level up, to think about things as a CEO of a company versus just an author who writes some books, you know? So like, to me, that's a big move, not only in identity work, but also in showing the universe that I'm ready for this, I'm serious about this, and that like, I want this and I want it bad. So in all of that, is trusting the nudges, right? I got the nudge to sign up for the call with this company, to just hear them out, hear how it works, see what the investment was going to be, because I kept seeing this ad on Instagram and it kept feeling like it was the right thing for me to do, but I ignored it because I was like, it's scary. I don't even know if I have enough work to give somebody else. Like, there was so many things, but I just decided, I felt the nudge, I'm going to do it. And so I did it, and it's scary. And like I said, it's been a lot of work getting ready for this, but I know it's the right move. I know it's going to pay off immensely, and I can trust that it's the right action, right? And I also accept any consequences that could come with it, right? Because obviously that's a part of it, like I said. So trust the nudges, take the actions, do what you know to do, and do what you are inspired to do. And then the final bit of this let's go part is it's until, not as long as, right? So you are in this until it works, this or something better, until you get the reality that you want, until the thing manifests. You're in it until, not as long as, right? Which is what most people do. Most people are in it as long as it happens in the next 6 months. As long as it doesn't cost them more than $500. As long as they don't have to sacrifice any of their time watching TV at night. As long as, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, the as long as is the stuff that distracts you, that gets in the way, that takes you out of being locked in, right? Because if you're locked in until that frickin' thing manifests or something even better. But if you're doing it as long as, then you're going to let things get in your way. You're going to let excuses happen. You're going to stop yourself from relocking things in when things take you off track. Like, so you have to know that it's until, and you're committed as until. And this is part of locking it in as well. I try to keep the steps separate, but honestly, they all just kind of play together. So, but yeah, so it's until. You are in this until it happens, until it works, until you get the outcome result you want or something even better, right? So if the taxing hadn't happened in that 2-year period, I would have continued on, right? I was not going to stop, especially having gone at it for 2 years. I was not going to stop locking it in. I was not going to stop choosing the reality I wanted, because at the end of the day, there was not a single other reality other than my taxes just being wiped off completely that was going to satisfy me, that was going to make me feel happy, that was going to make me feel like I'm on the right track in my life. I did not want my ex to be tied to my taxes. I did not want him to be financially responsible for anything involving me. I did not want his money to get taken from him. Like, there was so many things that I did not want. And so because of that, I could not do anything else but choose the reality that I wanted over and over and over again. It doesn't always have to be that extreme. Obviously, this is just an example. But the until, right? So I was in it until. I didn't care how long it took. I was in it until. And yeah, it's hard, because a year goes by, you don't hear anything. Another half a year goes by, you don't hear anything. Finally, 2 years goes by and you hear something, but it's like, it's still not officially a thing until you agree that it's officially a thing, right? Because they send you the paper and then you have like a certain amount of time to decide that you don't like their decision and you can appeal it. But obviously I wasn't going to do that. So I was totally good, but we still had to wait that time period of like the time period you have to do it. So it was like, until it happens, until it works, until it's actually my reality, I will choose it. I will lock it in, and that's how it's going to be. But if you are finding yourself feeling like, well, I'll do this as long as it happens this year, right? I'm manifesting this as long as I get it in the next 6 months, as long as it happens by next Tuesday, like whatever it is. No, it's until. So if you want something, you want to manifest something by next Tuesday and it doesn't happen by next Tuesday, oh well, you trust and keep going, right? You want it or you don't want it. That's it. And if you want it, then you trust and keep going. You lock it in, you trust and keep going. Now, this is not to say that sometimes you don't have to adjust things. Sometimes you don't have to pivot or tweak something that you've been doing. Maybe you do. Maybe there's a way you've been being or a way you've been thinking or a way you've been acting that isn't in alignment with what you want. And when you notice those things, of course, tweak them, change them, like make a pivot if you need to, but keep going, right? Trust and keep going. Lock it in and keep going, because that's how you're going to get what you want. And momentum will get built from you doing that. What you don't want to do is stop or give up, right? If you do that, you're never going to get what you want. And that's not cool. So it takes as long as it takes. I think that's the most important thing with quantum leaping, because as a concept, quantum leaping means something happens fast. Or in my opinion, it happens faster than would be typical. So if it normally takes 2 years to write a book and get it out there, you do it faster than that. That's a quantum leap. It's taking a shorter period of time to make something happen. But you're not giving up, right? You're not stopping if it doesn't happen fast. You keep going. And in my opinion, even though it's taken a couple of years to get to that point, the quantum leap can happen overnight in the sense that like all of those years prior to this was your momentum, right? It was building up to this point, and now you're in a place where it could explode, where you can get to that next level really quickly because of all the momentum, right? So if I had hired this virtual marketing assistant 4 years ago when I was getting ready to finally go all in on being a full-time author, writing my manifesting books finally, like if I had done that before all of that, it wouldn't have stuck. I wouldn't have known what to do with the person. It wouldn't have been very helpful to me, and it probably would have been a waste of money. But because I built momentum, right? So over the last 4 years, I've written multiple manifesting books and they've started to sell themselves now. So like the marketing that I've been doing and everything has taken off on its own. So now the books basically sell themselves. I'm not having to promote them every single day, but I'm making sales every single day. So it's like that momentum was built over all that time. And now I'm in a place where making the investment in the virtual marketing assistant makes sense. It financially makes sense. Like it doesn't feel like a risky move because I have all this foundation in place, right? Like I've been doing the stuff to get to the point where the books can get out there and they can sell and all the things. So now it feels like the right next step. It feels like the next piece to build the momentum, but I also know that it can be the piece that explodes everything, right? Because having a person working 40 hours a week in my business, there's no way that's not going to get me somewhere, right? So what's great about it is I know that this is going to help me quantum leap. I know this is going to explode the results I've had in my author business over the next 6 months. And I know that it could only happen that way because of all the momentum built up to this point. And that's what I truly think a quantum leap is. I don't actually think it's just like starting from ground zero and ending up where you want to go quickly. I think it's the momentum that gets built, and then the leap happens in a short period of time from all of that momentum that's been built slowly over time. The slow burn, as the kids say these days. Oh, okay, so that was what I wanted to say for this masterclass. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to check these comments over here now. Okay, let's see. Cool. Congratulations on hiring an assistant. Thank you. Yes, I'm very excited. I'm nervous because I'm a control freak. So this is a big move for me, just energetically, to be willing to give up certain activities in my business that I've been doing for such a long time. But I also know that I have gotten myself to this point through just sheer willpower and focusing and like doing what I need to do as me by myself. But like, I'm never going to grow to the point that I want to if I just stay where I'm at, right? If I just keep doing things myself, I know that I need something to move myself to that next level. And so this is what it's going to be. This is what's going to help me to do that. So, yeah, but I definitely wasn't ready for it. And I'm a control freak. So it's going to be a little bit nerve-wracking to give up things, but I know and I trust that it's the right action and that the universe is going to support me in this and going to give me whatever I need, either internally, resources, tools, whatever it is, to give up the control and to be able to know and believe and continue to lock in, right? That this is going to work, that it is going to help, that it is going to explode my author business, and that things are just going to be amazing. And at the end of the year, I'm going to throw an epic New Year's Eve party and like just be celebrating and so grateful for all the leaps that I took this year, all the big moves I made, big and small moves I made in my author business, and to just energetically show the universe who I am and who I want to be and where I'm going. So yeah, it's really cool. Okay, thank you for all this, especially the lock it in part and how important persistence is. The only as long as it takes. Exactly. That is the only as long as it takes. Exactly. Otherwise, there is no as long as it takes, period. Knowing that for you too. Yes. I'm sure anyone who's known me, and the person commenting here has known me for quite a while. So yeah, anyone who's known me has known not only that I'm a control freak, but that I've been doing this by myself for a really long time. So yeah, I wasn't ready at the same time. Like, I just wasn't at a point where I felt like it was valuable, it was worth it for me, having somebody helping me. And now I feel like I got a foundation. I have an actual company. I want this to be successful, and I want to take this and make it huge, right? Like, I want to help people manifest. I want to teach them practical ways to apply all of this woo-woo stuff that is out there about manifesting. Because if you don't do that, right, if I'm not out there doing that and I'm not out there helping people to understand manifesting at a level that is practical, then you end up with bullshit news articles and studies like people who believe in manifesting are more likely to go bankrupt. And it's like, yeah, that might be true based on the questions you ask people in that study. However, is that actually the case? No, it's not. It has to do with are you doing this practical way, right? So I will, again, manifesting teachers will tell you that being practical is a mistake. They'll tell you that being practical is how you get practical results. I don't believe that for a freaking second. I think the way you get epic results is by doing not practical actions necessarily, but by manifesting in a way that feels practical, in the sense that you feel like it's doable, it's believable, and that you can actually do it, and that you actually commit to doing it. Because there's so many manifesting things out there where it's like the 369, or write these statements over and over again for 5 minutes a day or whatever. Like, there's so many little manifesting tricks and tips and things out there, and they all work for different people. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to figure out what works best for you. You have to do what you feel called to do. And if you are holding yourself back, or you're playing small, or you're not giving yourself permission to want what you actually want, like, all those things are going to stop you from ending up where you want to be. And yeah, so that's why I teach this. That's why I'm all about showing you that manifesting can be practical, because at the end of the day, you've already been manifesting your entire life, right? You've been doing it since the day you were born. You're already good at it. It's just most of the time we're manifesting unconsciously, which means you don't realize you're doing it. You're doing it based on whatever's programmed in your subconscious mind. And so by learning the things that I teach you, by showing you how to be more practical, how to actually strategically do things to help you improve the way you think, improve the way you feel, like, that changes not only how you show up for yourself, but how you manifest. It changes how you feel about yourself. It changes the identity that you carry, and how you see yourself. Like, and all of that is valuable. So yeah, so that's why I do what I do. And just to wrap all of this up and just give you a little reminder, if you haven't yet read Quantum Leap Your Life, this book is all about practical quantum leaping. So it shows you basically how to change your internal state, how to match the vibe of the thing that you want with your feelings, with your thoughts, with your beliefs. And it gives you tons of tools and different ways to utilize that, right? And resources to help you make that happen. So if you're looking for something to help you continue on all the stuff that I talked about here and actually apply it in your own life and use it, this book will help you to do that. It is celebrating its 2-year anniversary this month officially. And yeah, so go check out Quantum Leap Your Life. It is available as a paperback, an ebook, and an Audible, and a hardcover is coming very soon. I never did a hardcover for it, but I decided, why not? I'm going to do a hardcover. So we'll be doing that. So that is all I wanted to share. Let me know if you have any other questions. I know most people are probably watching this as a replay. So if you are watching the replay and you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, because I will come back and check later, and we'll comment back to you. Let's see. I just saw another comment pop up over here. I heard your last episode of your podcast, and there you mentioned it's not needed to manifest money. Is there something wrong if I've manifested a specific amount of money? I'm not sure what you mean by it's not needed. What's not needed? There's nothing wrong with manifesting a specific amount of money. Absolutely not. No. So I think it has to do with what you feel is believable, right? So if you feel like a specific amount of money is believable for you to manifest, then yeah, focus on that 100%. Most people, I think, have a lot of like inner turmoil when it comes to money. And so for most people, focusing on a specific amount of money would probably be too much, and it would probably take them out of the game. So for some people, being more general about the money would actually help them to manifest it easier, because they're not being focused on a specific number. So like when I say, I want to have a $10,000 month, that feels different in my body than it does when I say, I want to have a 5-figure month. Even though technically that's the same thing, right? Because to make a 5-figure month, you have to make at least $10,000, obviously. Otherwise, you're at 4 figures still. So for that reason, like, I have to go, well, what feels good to me? And it doesn't really feel good to me to say I want to manifest $10,000, because that feels intimidating. It feels scary. It feels like, how the hell am I going to do that? But if I say I want to manifest 5 figures, it does still feel a little intimidating, but it doesn't feel the same in my body as like the number 10,000. So no, I don't think there's anything wrong with focusing on a specific amount if you can believe it and if it feels good to you. So my like measure of all the things, whether it's a process, whether it's a way of thinking, whether it's an action you're taking, anything, it's how does it feel for you? Because at the end of the day, your feelings are what create your vibration. And so to get what you want, you have to match the vibe of it. So if your feeling is that it's intimidating, it's scary, it's not going to happen, then that is not going to get what you want, right? So really check with yourself as you're doing these steps, as you're taking action, as you're making decisions or locking things in, like as you do all of that, is check in with yourself. Does this feel good to me, right? Does this feel the way I want to feel? Or do I feel not how I want to feel? Because if you don't feel how you want to feel, then you're not in alignment anyway, and you might as well do something different, right? Try something different, whether it's be more specific or be more general, whatever it might be for you. Because it's the feeling that you're going for. So yeah, I would say if specifics are good for you with money, then go for it, 100%. And if not, then go more general, and that might make you feel better. Okay. And I wish I remembered what my last podcast episode was, because it's been a while. It's been a long while since I've done that. But hey, now I'm going to have an assistant. Maybe I'll start my podcast again, because I'll have someone to help me keep it up. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So that is all the comments I see right now. So I'm going to go and cut this off now, because I've been talking for an hour, and you probably have things you need to do with your day. So let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, if you haven't already, check out Quantum Leap Your Life, celebrating its 2-year anniversary this month. And actually, technically, Manifest Everything is celebrating its 1-year anniversary this month. But we'll save that for another day. So that is all for now. I will see you guys very soon. And until next time, remember, feeling good is the point and the path. Bye.